Welcome to Using Design Thinking to Explore Burnout Among Designers in the Workplace and to Propose Solutions. My name is Joan Dickinson. I am a professor in the Department of Design at Radford University, and I'm presenting Nakia Shelton's thesis work. Nakia completed the MFA in Design Thinking at Radford University, and she is now Director of Digital Design and Production at UNC Chapel Hill. Both Kathleen Sullivan and Holly Klein served as committee members on Nakia's thesis. So the purpose of this research study is using design thinking strategies. The purpose was to explore burnout among designers in the workplace and propose solutions for alleviating and preventing burnout. So first we want to start by defining design thinking. Design thinking is a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving with a strong emphasis on ethnographic research. Design thinking is creative, iterative, and practical. It involves empathy and developing a deeper understanding about people in order to inform innovative and creative solutions. When we talk about burnout, there is typically an idea of what it means, and while it has been widely researched, at times it is confused with stress. Workplace burnout is defined in research as a psychological syndrome in response to chronic interpersonal stressors on the job. It is defined and measured by three key dimensions, which consist of an overwhelming sense of exhaustion, depersonalization and cynicism, and reduced efficacy or accomplishment. To constitute burnout, typically there is a survey given called the Maslach Burnout Inventory Survey that asks specific questions that measure these three dimensions. And if you're not at a certain level in these three areas, you would be thought to be stressed rather than burned out. There are alarming ramifications to burnout affecting the individual and organization. Organizations with individuals suffering from burnout are faced with decreased commitment, increased absenteeism, and high turnover rates. Researchers at the Harvard Business School and Stanford's Graduate School of Business found that American workplaces spend 125 to 190 billion annually on healthcare alone due to work stress, and more than 120,000 deaths each year may be attributable to how U.S. companies manage their workforces. There have been studies showing a link between burnout and cardiovascular disease, musculoskeletal problems, and an increased vulnerability to infections and diseases. Significant reductions in nonverbal memory, auditory, and visual attention were also found. Increased substance abuse and marital and family conflicts have also been linked to burnout. There are 6 primary themes in burnout research, often referred to as the 6 areas of work life, which are workload, control, reward, community, fairness, and values. The greater the job-person mismatch within these areas, the higher the likelihood of burnout. This research examined burnout through these 6 domains and puts focus on the relationship between the person and the organization, which have been highly recommended in burnout research. Burnout is shown to be a major sign of dysfunction within an organization and says more about the workplace than it does about the employees. The focus of this research came out of observation and curiosity that we had from working in the design field in both the private and public sector. We noticed some of the most talented designers who were once enthusiastic and passionate about their work became disengaged, cynical, some resigning from their jobs entirely. Workplace burnout has been widely researched and associated among human service occupations. The World Health Organization recognized workplace burnout as an occupational phenomenon. When looking into workplace burnout, however, we found a lack of empirical research on burnout as it pertains to designers and the organizations and conditions in which they work. After an exhaustive literature review, few studies proposing or implementing design thinking as a strategy to understand burnout were found, which presented a gap in the research. The study was divided into 3 parts. Part 1 involved implementing strategies for looking and exploring. Part 2 involved strategies for better understanding the problem. And Part 3 involved further exploration with designers. The participants in this study included web designers, graphic designers, animation designers, interior designers, motion graphics designers, industrial product designers, fashion designers, UI and UX designers, instructional designers, design educators, and architectural designers who were working full-time in private and public sector companies and institutions. So we chose this sample based on experience and research findings. Designers working in these specialized areas are among those in corporate America charged with creating innovative, functional designs and experiences that shape the way in which people live, ultimately affecting business profits and the economy. Also, there was a recommendation in the research and literature to study burnout across a wide range of design disciplines. So in part 1, we had a total of 150 designers who participated in an online survey. To recruit subjects, we sent an electronic email to contacts in our own network. We also sent this to local design agencies and companies who employ designers, and also to professional organizations. Respondents specialize in 20 different areas of design, with one in the area of photography, and many were working in multiple subfields of design. The majority did work in graphic design. After the survey, we then interviewed 18 individuals. And these, again, were designers from various subfields to gain information about their engagement and satisfaction with work. They were recruited from the online questionnaire. Responses were analyzed relative to the 6 areas of work life, and attitudes and thoughts of burnout were noted and compiled. Next, we implemented journaling. And the purpose of this strategy was to determine if designers experience the feelings associated with those who suffer from burnout based on previous burnout research studies, and to identify triggers. 4 designers were recruited to journal their feelings associated with burnout, and the journaling took place over the course of 1 work week, Monday through Friday. The writing prompt was, immediately submit a journal entry if you experience any of the following while at work: exhaustion, fatigue, cynicism, irritability, helplessness, lack of productivity, incompetence, or feeling overwhelmed. Discuss and describe triggers in detail. Next, we used affinity clustering, and the purpose of this strategy was to identify and organize issues and insights of burnout from the interviews and journaling activity. Key issues were written on sticky notes and arranged and organized into groups and themes. We labeled these groupings to determine patterns and to build a shared understanding about the problem. Persona profiles of the participants were created for designers at risk of burnout to summarize research findings from the survey, interview, and journaling activity. The profile consisted of a 1-page summary of a designer at risk of burnout. We gave designers in the profiles a realistic name, representative portrait, description of distinguishing characteristics, needs and goals, and a summary of their mindset with a memorable quote. We then conducted a virtual design thinking workshop over Zoom with 11 designers recruited from a global enterprise company. The design thinking workshop served to further explore burnout among designers in the workplace and to generate solutions. The persona profiles were brought to the workshop to start the conversation on designer burnout. Participants were asked to critique the persona profiles created of the designers at risk of burnout. We use this as a way to start the conversation to develop shared understanding about the issue. We requested both positive and negative feedback about the personas and invited suggestions for improvement on the profiles. And you'll see a persona profile on here that we designed for this part of the study. The next strategy asked participants to brainstorm. Utilizing the information gleaned from the persona profiles, participants were asked to generate solutions for alleviating and preventing burnout for those designers. The next strategy that we used was called visualize the vote. Participants voted on the best solutions proposed from the brainstorming in order to rate and rank preferences on how to move forward. The last strategy implemented in the workshop was rough and ready prototyping. We asked the participants to create a rough and ready prototype of the solution voted on in the visualize the vote strategy in order to promote a shared vision for the future. Participants were instructed to propose realistic plans by considering all stakeholders. Once the workshop was completed, we then conducted 2 one-on-one interviews with designers who had experienced burnout within an institution, but had overcome and remained in service for over 20 years. One was a senior graphic designer working at a university for 23 years, and another was a tenured design professor working for 30 years. Questions explored their success of longevity in service and experiences with burnout. So interestingly, the survey responses did not indicate burnout, but the interview responses did. For the survey, we used a Likert scale and included questions such as, I feel fatigued at work. I feel supported at work by leadership. The interviews were more open-ended, which basically allowed for more raw responses in relationship to burnout. The interviews, journaling activity, and design thinking workshop indicated many had experienced 3 dimensions of burnout and were mismatched in some way with the 6 areas of work life in their design career. Respondents experienced exhaustion and low morale due to long work hours, heavy workloads, and toxic work environments, as well as depersonalization and reduced efficacy and accomplishment from poor leadership and not feeling valued. Many also spoke of needing leadership, direction, and support. A lack of recognition, promotion, and career growth opportunities were common antecedents found among respondents who had or were experiencing burnout. And on this page, you're going to see some of the quotes that we found from the journaling and the interviewing. Those who experienced burnout stated feeling fatigue, exhaustion, depression, sadness, grief, anxiousness. They were panicked, extremely stressed, irritable, cynical, angry, short tempered, and enraged. A few experienced low morale and felt undervalued. Many experienced physical health challenges, including trouble with sleeping, eating, weight gain or loss, muscular problems, and shingles. A few experienced cardiovascular issues, including high blood pressure, heart palpitations, and inflamed heart walls, as well as headaches and migraines. A few said it affected their relationships outside of work. Some felt less motivated, lacked attention to detail, rushed through projects, and or took longer to complete tasks. Many stated they thrived under pressure and were high functioning amid burnout, although struggling mentally and physically. When burned out, some said they felt uncertain and questioned their abilities. Many resigned from the positions where they were experiencing burnout. while some were terminated or fired due to poor performances as a result. A couple had a change in leadership, which aided in alleviating burnout and continuing employment. All who were currently experiencing burnout stated plans to resign if things did not change. Most said their organizations knew they were burned out either because they vocalized it to their managers or because of the work climate. However, few stated their organizations did not know they were burned out, either because they were high functioning, still producing high quality work, or because they had limited interaction with management. So, some other interesting findings that were not identified in the literature review that were talked about included burnout among some designers was due to monotony of work. Several actually working for higher education and government agencies indicated this problem. Differences among colleagues who were also said to contribute to burnout. Differences in religion, temperament, and age were specifically noted in this study and said to contribute to burnout. There were many who stated leadership lacked understanding on what designers do. Respondents spoke of the hidden steps of a designer's job that is not factored into their workload. Educating and advocating worth and place within an institution was a hidden step noted causing much stress. There were also respondents who identified as an empath and stated that contributed to their burnout, feeling and caring to the point of causing extreme stress and exhaustion. Being a minority was also a factor. Respondents spoke of having to work harder to be seen as equal and accepted in their organizations. This included race and gender. Working remotely caused burnout. There was stress associated with working from home, distractions if you had kids at home, lack of social interaction with colleagues. The stress of proving you are working was also a factor, and increased Zoom meetings and Slack messages caused stress and distraction. The majority stated that there were no systems in place for preventing or alleviating burnout within their organization. A few named good supervisors, employee assistance programs with free counseling, massages, paid time off, meetings, social gatherings, professional development, and mentorship programs as ways their organizations do provide support. Most believed it's leadership's responsibility to advocate, support, and communicate with designers in order to prevent and alleviate burnout. At the same time, many also believed it was up to the designer to vocalize their burnout and communicate their needs and limitations to their manager. Some stated it was equally the manager's and the designer's responsibilities. So, what were some of the proposed solutions? Most suggested having a safe space or system to comfortably communicate and voice burnout would help the issue by making burnout an open conversation. Better management of expectations and workload was suggested. There were many who stated leadership lacked an understanding of what designers do. They stated that because people do not understand what designers do, there was many factors that were not considered into the workload. One of those being to educate and advocate work and place within their institution. Many respondents stated feeling undervalued in their organizations with constant pressure to prove themselves. Therefore, a suggestion for a system of empowerment, value, and respect of designers is critical to preventing designer burnout. Creating and implementing burnout assessments was also a common suggestion. At the Design Thinking workshop, solutions were proposed for determining company fit prior to accepting the position. This is believed to be a worthy idea to pursue as every team organization has different dynamics. And if one is able to determine team fit prior to hire, that would be beneficial for not only the designer, but also the organization. Some even suggested the notion of picking your boss. It was stated that burnout sufferers leave their bosses, not their jobs. Speaking to the importance of job candidates interviewing the organization while being interviewed to determine best fit. There is an understanding for lack of monetary rewards that may be available. The findings suggest thoughtful acts showing value and appreciation would significantly improve one's morale and deter burnout. The showing of appreciation will be different for everyone. Some want the open meeting shout out, and others want a personal note. It's important to know your team member and what they need. Differences among colleagues was also said to contribute to burnout. It is important to find commonalities and embrace positive indifference. Feeling a sense of belonging and connection within the larger organization promotes trust, shared values, and goals, which align with the 6 areas of work life. It is recommended that organizations take an active role in fostering this behavior. In providing a suggestion in dealing with monotony of the job, designers could be supported and encouraged to seek out creative opportunities of their choice, as this approach was found successful among respondents. And it doesn't have to be with the team. One respondent, who is a senior university designer with 23 years of service, gave an example of how she found a workshop for creative journaling. And this was an activity that she did that helped her get out of a rut. She was able to use work time to go to the workshop. Play at work was also discussed. In the most high-performing teams, you'll find people at play. Companies such as Apple, 3M, Google, IDEO have placed play at the heart of their corporate culture. Play is not what you do, it is how you do it. Play is not a set of activities like board games and team sports, but a way of performing any activity regardless of content. In other words, any activity can be transformed into play when people engage in it in special ways, including designing and managing. For example, cooking, driving, designing, and management can be sheer, and managing can be sheer boredom or pure play. It depends on how you do them. When we play, we not only have fun with what we do, but we also act in a fluid and flexible way. When you play at work, curiosity, discovery, and trial and error rule. This is the secret for creativity in children and adults alike. Instituting play Oops, I think I'm a little behind. Let me go up a little bit. Okay, sorry. So, instituting play at work for managers who want to foster creativity, the trick is to help their teams engage playfully in their work to unlock the creative power of play. Create conditions and workspaces that signal it is all right to play and tells them where and when. Design, color, music, art, or other artifacts are principal tools for shaping a playful work ambiance. Find the type of playful ambience that is right for your institution. Respect the fact that people must play spontaneously and of their own will. So there are 2 types of play, diversion and engagement. And diversion is taking a moment away from a work task to play alone or with other colleagues. Engagement, turning one's core work task into play, boosts the creative process and helps reframe work activities and explore variables. And these are just factors that managers can look at when they're trying to institute play at work, which we basically discussed a little bit earlier in the presentation. So, what are some of the conclusions that came out of this research? So, first, burnout is complex, it's emotional, and it's different for every person. Findings indicate the importance of direct leadership being in tune with their designers and designers feeling comfortable voicing their limitations. Leadership support, designer respect, value and empowerment, safe spaces for communication, and a sustainable workload are imperative to addressing the issue of designer burnout. Burnout is a wicked problem, not solved by one solution. However, by utilizing design thinking, it was better understood and proven to widely affect designers among multiple design disciplines and in different ways. The solutions proposed in this study were not ours, but generated by the designers in this study for designers and are encouraged to be implemented by bringing together the stakeholders of your institution that are affected by designer burnout, especially leadership, management, and designers, to determine a system or process that will be supported by all and work best for your team and institution. Thank you so much for listening and viewing this presentation. And if you have any additional questions, we would love for you to reach out to us at any time. I have Nakia's contact information, and I also have my own contact information. And again, thank you very much.